Today we are talking about how to sow your onions. Right now it is the end of October and we are at a time where you can still sow onions, but it depends on what kind, whether you're doing seeds or sets, varieties, and all of that good stuff is what we're going to get into today. But before we do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more homesteading content. So I do have some onion seed here. And if you order onion seed, they will have a 90% germination rate for at least 2 years. Every packet should have a date at the top for when it's packed for, so you know its expiration. And when I say expiration, I'm just meaning that the germination rate is going to go lower and lower with time, which means that you'll need to sow more seeds in order to make sure that you get enough plants. And I also have over here some onion sets. These are basically little mini bulbs that are sprouted. And you can choose between the two on what to actually sow to grow your onions. But there are pros and cons for both. The pros for planting from seed, this seed, is that you've got greater variety. You can choose what type of onions you want. For example, I got these at the garden center and they only had one choice, but otherwise you can pick all kinds of really cool onions. The cons is that you have to start them earlier in the fall, and then you'll be growing them indoors unless depending on your frost date. So you can start them outdoors, and as long as they are covered with mulch and as long as they get about 6 to 8 inches tall, they can be protected against frost and do just fine. But they can all, it's a sensitive period. And so you have to decide, depending on your frost date, what makes the most sense for sowing these seeds. If you're sowing them indoors, you also have to care for them indoors, likely until after your last frost when you would transplant them outdoors. So a couple of pros and cons for the seeds themselves. If you sow them from sets, I honestly find this a lot easier. And you've got a much longer window for when you can plant these. So right now it's the end of October or beginning of November, we'll plant these and they will do just fine. And the frost won't affect them. And we'll very likely get nice big onions. This is a sweet onion. And we won't have to water them. We won't have to care for them. It's low maintenance. The downside to these is I don't really know what seed they came from. I don't know where that seed came from. These I can pick an organic heirloom variety. These I don't necessarily have that ability. I have to depend on whatever is at the garden center. But the other pro to sowing these sets in the ground is that your garden center, your local garden center, is likely going to have the variety that is best suitable for your area. So there's a really good chance of these guys growing. If you are going to order your seeds, there's a couple of things that you need to know in terms of varieties. You could have long day onions or you could have short day onions. And here's the difference. Short day onions are suitable for southern regions that are a little bit warmer. They are areas with mild winter and early spring, and you can plant them in the fall, grow them through winter, and harvest in late spring. You don't really have to worry so much about the frost affecting them. Some short day onions because they require fewer hours of daylight in order to form the bulbs. And they're less susceptible to bolting, which is another term for flowering before you get that bulb. Long day onions are more suitable for northern regions that are a little bit cooler. They are more susceptible to bolting, and so you would hope that your summers would be a little bit more mild. They need more adequate time for the leaf growth to occur before bulb formation. Let's take a look at what options you have online. So this is my favorite website. Rare Seeds by Baker's Creek. And you'll see here where they specify bulbs, and they look like bulbs, and they're largely out of stock right now. Let's click on it and see if they are going to tell us when. It doesn't tell us when they're coming in stock, but since now is the time to be planting the bulbs, I would say that it's probably not going to be in this season that you can get the bulbs. So you could always get on the waiting list for next fall, or you could go ahead and get some seeds. They will specify if they are seeds. And when they do specify the seeds, they will tell you in the description if they are long day or short day. This is where it gets tricky, because if you did not know any better, you might come to this website and think, oh, they've got these seeds and these seeds, so I'll order those and sow those now. But remember the timing of things. It's too late to plant from seed. If you are in late fall, you need to be planting by bulbs or sets. This is another website that I really like called Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, obviously for the southern hemisphere of the United States. And they're also out of stock of quite a lot. They do have this dry bulb onion, but this is a long day seed. They'll also mention if it's intermediate, meaning somewhere in the, zones 6 and 7 area, you could plant these as well and do just fine. They also sell these bunching onions that do great. They're not going to give you big bulb onions, but this is a really awesome onion to grow because they grow like perennials, basically, and you can divide them and just harvest these little guys as much as you need. Last thing to consider for when you do get any sorts of bulbs or sets, you're going to want to make sure that you leave the skin on when you plant them, and you're going to want to go through whatever sets you have and press on them to make sure that there is no rotting. If there is, you do not want to plant those. Those will not give you an onion. Go ahead and toss them in the compost. So what are you planting this season? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Please make sure to like this video if you found it useful, and subscribe to my channel for more homesteading content.